Todd Monken just walked into a press conference that was supposed to be about the Browns' off-season plans and instead delivered the most shocking statement any NFL head coach has made about their starting quarterback in years. Not subtle hints, not coach speak about competition. Brutal, unfiltered truth about Deshaun Watson's future in Cleveland that left reporters stunned and the entire football world scrambling to figure out what this means. Monken didn't dance around the question. He didn't protect Watson. He looked straight into the camera and said something that's going to change everything for the Cleveland Browns. And the way he said it, the details he revealed about conversations nobody knew were happening, the timeline he laid out for Watson's role going forward, it's all pointing to one conclusion that seemed impossible just 24 hours ago. The quarterback who cost the Browns 3 first-round picks and $250 million might actually be done in Cleveland.
Todd Monken just walked into a press conference that was supposed to be about the Browns' off-season plans and instead delivered the most shocking statement any NFL head coach has made about their starting quarterback in years. Not subtle hints, not coach speak about competition, brutal, unfiltered truth about Deshaun Watson's future in Cleveland that left reporters stunned and the entire football world scrambling to figure out what this means. Monken didn't dance around the question. He didn't protect Watson. He looked straight into the camera and said something that's going to change everything for the Cleveland Browns. And the way he said it, the details he revealed about conversations nobody knew were happening, the timeline he laid out for Watson's role going forward, it's all pointing to one conclusion that seemed impossible just 24 hours ago. The quarterback who cost the Browns 3 first-round picks and $250 million might actually be done in Cleveland. February 11th, 2026. The Cleveland Browns hold their scheduled mid-February press conference at their Berea training facility. Todd Monken, the first-year head coach, is joined by general manager Andrew Berry to discuss the state of the franchise heading into free agency and the draft. For the first 15 minutes, it's standard stuff. Questions about the defensive coordinator search, updates on player contract negotiations, discussion about draft strategy. Nothing controversial, nothing unexpected. And then a reporter asks the question that changes everything. Coach Monken, with Deshaun Watson suspended for the first 12 games of 2026, what's your plan at the quarterback position? And more importantly, what role will Deshaun Watson play when he returns in December? Monken shifts in his seat, glances at Andrew Berry, takes a deep breath, and then delivers an answer that nobody in that room was prepared for. Look, I'm going to be honest with everyone because I think we owe the fans and this organization honesty after years of uncertainty. Deshaun Watson's situation is complicated. He's under contract, he's owed significant money, but from a football standpoint, from what we're trying to build here, we have to move forward at the quarterback position. That doesn't mean Deshaun can't be part of this team when he returns from suspension, but what it does mean is that we're not sitting around waiting for December to figure out who our quarterback is. We're going to develop someone during those first 12 games, and if that person is playing well, if we're winning games, if the offense is functioning at a high level, then we have to make decisions based on what's best for the team, not what's best for protecting a contract or a reputation.
The room goes silent. Reporters exchange glances. Someone asks the obvious follow-up. Are you saying Deshaun Watson might not be the starter when he comes back from suspension? Monken doesn't hesitate. I'm saying that the starting quarterback job in Cleveland is going to be earned, not given. And if someone else earns it between now and December, then yes, Deshaun might not be the starter when he returns. That's just reality. The bombshell drops. Within seconds, social media erupts. NFL insiders start tweeting out clips of Monken's comments. Analysts begin emergency segments on their shows. And the biggest story in football becomes, is Deshaun Watson's time as the Browns' starting quarterback actually over? Let me take you inside what led to this moment, because Todd Monken didn't just randomly decide to publicly question Deshaun Watson's future. This has been building for months, and what's happening behind the scenes is even more shocking than what Monken said publicly. When Todd Monken was hired as head coach in early 2025, inheriting the Deshaun Watson situation was his biggest challenge. Watson had been inconsistent in 2024. Injuries kept him off the field. When he did play, he looked nothing like the elite quarterback who dominated with Houston in 2020, and the locker room's confidence in him was shaky at best. Monken, being a first-time head coach and an offensive-minded guy who's developed quarterbacks throughout his career, believed he could fix Watson. He spent hours with Watson during the 2025 offseason. They watched film together. They discussed the offense Monken wanted to run. They talked about Watson's strengths and how to maximize them. But according to sources inside the Browns organization who've been briefing reporters over the past few weeks, the relationship between Monken and Watson started deteriorating almost immediately once the 2025 season began. The first issue was Watson's preparation. Multiple sources have told reporters that Watson doesn't study film the way elite quarterbacks do. He shows up to meetings, but he's not engaged. He doesn't ask questions, he doesn't take notes, and when coaches try to correct his mechanics or decision-making, he's resistant. One source told ESPN, Watson thinks he already knows everything. He won this whole thing in Houston, so in his mind, he doesn't need to be coached. But the problem is, he's not the same player he was in Houston, and he refuses to accept that. The second issue was Watson's performance during the 2025 season. The Browns went 7-10, missed the playoffs, and Watson was a major reason why. He threw more interceptions than touchdowns. His completion percentage was below 60%. He took too many sacks because he held the ball too long, and in critical moments, he made game-losing mistakes. Monken tried to adjust the offense to help Watson. He simplified the reads, he called more quick passes, he designed rollouts and bootlegs to get Watson on the move, but nothing worked. Watson just wasn't good enough anymore. The third issue, and this is the one that reportedly pushed Monken over the edge, was Watson's response to criticism. After losses, Watson would blame the offensive line for not protecting him. He'd blame receivers for dropping passes. He'd blame the play calling, but he never took accountability for his own mistakes. Sources say that in a team meeting after a particularly bad loss in November 2025, Monken confronted Watson directly. He showed film of Watson's mistakes and asked him to acknowledge what he did wrong. Watson allegedly refused and walked out of the meeting. That moment destroyed whatever relationship existed between Monken and Watson. And when Watson's 12-game suspension for 2026 was announced in January, Monken saw it as an opportunity, a chance to develop another quarterback without the pressure of benching Watson, a chance to see what the offense could be without Watson's limitations holding it back. Which brings us to the real story behind Monken's press conference comments, because what Monken didn't say publicly, but what sources are now confirming, is that the Browns have already made a decision about their quarterback future, and Deshaun Watson isn't part of it. According to multiple sources, the Cleveland Browns are going all in on developing Malik Willis as their starting quarterback for 2026. Willis, the former third-round pick who failed in Tennessee and Green Bay, was signed by the Browns earlier this offseason as part of Andrew Berry's quarterback development experiment. And apparently, Willis has impressed the hell out of Monken during early workouts and film sessions. Sources say Willis looks completely different than he did in Tennessee or Green Bay. His mechanics have improved, his decision-making is sharper, his confidence is growing, and most importantly, he's coachable. He listens to coaching input, he studies film obsessively, he asks questions, and he takes accountability. Monken reportedly told the Browns' offensive staff in a private meeting last week, Malik Willis is going to be our starting quarterback in Week 1 of the 2026 season, and if he plays well, he's going to be our starting quarterback in Week 13 when Deshaun comes back from suspension. That decision, if it holds, would be one of the boldest moves any NFL head coach has made in recent memory. You're benching a quarterback who's owed over $90 million in guaranteed money for a guy who was a complete bust with two other teams. It's either genius or insane, and nobody will know which until Willis actually plays. But here's where Monken's press conference comments become even more significant. By saying publicly that the starting job will be earned and not given, Monken is preparing the fan base and the media for the possibility that Deshaun Watson never starts another game for the Browns. He's laying the groundwork so that when Willis is named the starter in September and Watson is still on the bench in December, nobody can say they weren't warned. The reaction to Monken's comments has been absolutely massive across the NFL. Former players are split on whether Monken did the right thing. Some are praising him for being honest and not coddling a quarterback who hasn't earned the job. Others are criticizing him for creating a quarterback controversy before the season even starts and for publicly undermining Watson's confidence. Analysts are debating whether Malik Willis can actually be the answer. Most are skeptical, pointing out that Willis has failed everywhere he's been. But a few are intrigued, noting that Willis never had elite coaching or a real development plan in Tennessee or Green Bay. Maybe Cleveland can unlock something that other teams couldn't. Browns fans are divided. Some are thrilled that Monken is finally moving on from Watson and giving someone else a chance. Others are terrified that the Browns are about to waste another year on a quarterback experiment that's going to fail spectacularly. But the most important reaction is from Deshaun Watson himself, and according to sources, Watson is furious. Watson reportedly called his agent immediately after seeing Monken's press conference comments. He feels disrespected. He feels like Monken is trying to force him out, and he's exploring every possible option to protect his position with the team. Sources say Watson's agent has reached out to the NFL Players Association to discuss whether Monken's comments violate the collective bargaining agreement's provisions about how teams must treat players under contract. Watson is also considering requesting a trade, though with his contract and recent performance, finding a trade partner would be nearly impossible. There's also talk that Watson might show up to the Browns facility during his suspension and demand to participate in team activities, even though he's not allowed to play. He wants to make his presence felt and remind everyone that he's still part of this team, whether Monken likes it or not. This sets up an incredibly toxic situation for the 2026 season. You have a head coach who's publicly stated that the suspended quarterback might not get his job back. You have a quarterback who feels disrespected and is fighting to protect his role with the team. And you have a franchise that's stuck paying both of them while trying to win games and rebuild credibility. The next few months are going to be critical. The Browns will go through OTAs, minicamp, and training camp with Malik Willis taking first-team reps. The media will scrutinize every throw, every decision, every practice performance. And by the time Week 1 arrives, we'll know if Monken's gamble on Willis has any chance of working.
If Willis plays well, if the Browns are winning games, if the offense looks functional for the first time in years, then Monken will be vindicated. Watson will become a $90 million backup, and the Browns will have found their quarterback without using a first-round pick. But if Willis struggles, if the Browns are losing games, if the offense looks as dysfunctional as it did under Watson, then Monken will be under immense pressure to play Watson when he returns from suspension. And that creates a nightmare scenario where the head coach is forced to start a quarterback he publicly said might not deserve the job. As of right now, February 11th, 2026, Todd Monken has drawn a line in the sand. He's told the world that Deshaun Watson's future as the Browns' starting quarterback is in serious doubt. And whether that's brilliant leadership or reckless mismanagement, we're about to find out over the next 8 months.